Hey, folks, it's Lindsay hosting with SPS back in the building for another SPS Edge Show. That's right. You see two faces, not three. I think the content today was a little bit too Michigan heavy for Terry McCord Jr. to sign on. He said, I can't do it. No, I'm just joking. Terry is doing this thing. He won't be with us today, but we're happy to be back here. I got my guy, Coach Orlando Rockets. I see you rocking that KJ gear. Kyra
AJ
Jefferson, I
here.
see you, man. I like that. I like that. At a online at a store near you. How you doing today, man?
Fantastic. How about you, Lindsay?
I'm doing great. I'm looking right here. They're showing Commissioner Roger Goodell walk in. They're doing all the pre-draft stuff in Vegas right now. Hey, that's going to be City Detroit in a couple years too, right?
Yeah, can't wait. Can't
That's gonna
wait.
be a good time. That's gonna be a good time. Well, let's get right to it, man. There's a lot of breaking news going on. There is now outgoing NCAA President Mark Emmett has decided that by June 30th of 2023, he will forego his role and step down and be moving on. That's a big update coming out of the national office. And I thought that was interesting, Orlando, because, he was the first one to talk about name, image, and likeness, kind of usher in this new era we're seeing where the athletes are able to get paid and, having an extra waffle or extra piece of clothing or anything like that won't get you in big trouble with the NCAA. Interested to know what your thought is on what his tenure has been like and the fact that part of his legacy will be that he was part of the transition. It's not that he left, then someone new came in talking NIL, but just what do you think his legacy will end up being? Good, bad, or indifferent? And also, who do you anticipate or what kind of pedigree do you think the next person will have? Will it be somebody from within the NCAA, or will they bring some corporate, branding person or someone with that kind of, background in? What do you think?
I think it's the indifferent. It's great that what's the best way to say? He opened Pandora's box and then
You got
left.
him out the way.
Yeah, and then he left. So they would have to bring in somebody, and I hate to see it, but they're gonna bring in that corporate entity to come and handle this, because right now, I mean, we're really leaning heavy on the positives for the athletes, but at the end of the day, it's still a positive for the universities. These universities are pulling in team deals. They're not even giving the athlete the opportunity to get out there and push themselves. They're working it for their entire sports program, and you got to believe they're taking a cut of that. So it's going to be interesting, but I would have to say his legacy would be indifferent. I can't see them calling back. His name will come up, because it occurred up under his watch. But beyond that, there's going to be so much that's going on that he will soon be forgotten.
Yeah, move on. Our guy Aaron Mays, our brother from another, is joining us. What's up, brother? How you doing, man? We got to get over to the spot again, man. It's getting warm. We got to get down. Matter of fact, all three of us need to hook up and get down there. Maybe Coach Watkins a host. He got his spot Z's. He could be a good host there. But Aaron is chiming in. It's interesting. I was really on my soapbox when it came to NIL being introduced, because despite it being groundbreaking and being different, again, the universities were not out of any money. The NCAA, that is, was still able to get their normal cut and share as it relates to bowl games, the NCAA tournament. There are two tournaments a year that State Farm, Final Four, pre-classic, if you will, they do early in the season, and of course the Final Four at the end. I think that similar to the Pac-12, when the Pac-12 announced their new commissioner, they pulled a Vegas exec. They pulled a guy straight from Vegas, straight from MGM. It's all about, hey, man, how do we do this and make the money? And I just be really curious to know what they do. And again, I don't know if you mentioned, do you think it's someone from internal with the NCAA who?
No, external. And an exec from Vegas makes sense. It is entertainment. Let's pull somebody from Disney. It's because that's what it is. At the heart of it, it is entertainment.
How do we pull somebody in to do it? Okay, to your point, our buddy Aaron says Emmett legacy will be forgotten. He did a poor job. Yeah, man, I think he had his foot in both sides of it, in the sense that he still represented that individual in that NCAA that was known for being draconian with their rules, where a kid, what's that, who got, in trouble for getting a suit to go home for a funeral and those type of things. And the NIL part would be like, and I think, man, unless you see NCAA president comes in where I guess in the past, the schools have benefited overwhelmingly, but unless you get someone who's going to be a champion for the student athletes, other than that, I think it's going to be just considered as that same old person. But I'll be curious to know which direction they're going to go. And is there a possibility that we can see, and then the athletes and the university can all agree that, hey, we're moving in a direction where there's a win-win. And what does a win-win look like, I wonder? What does a win-win look like for athletes and universities? The athletes, again, NIL deals spread across the board. It's trickling down, if you will. And then the universities are still, making their payday. Is that even possible, I wonder?
I think it is possible. I think it's very possible. And I think for me, even thinking closer to home, if you look at we're focusing on college athletics, but if you look down to high school athletics and you look at the state of Michigan in particular, how long are we going to keep these draconian rules here? The rest of the world has changed, and the MHSAA is still, in the dark ages.
Yeah. I mean, I got our boy Will McCoy, who is quick to pick up the phone if you call, and he has been really the new face, if you will, for MHSA, particularly in Southeast Michigan. And he holds true to the line of what they're, they talk about with MHSA, but you're right when it talks about the travel and all these other opportunities. And to Aaron's point, he said the key job to watch is Kevin Warren in the Big 12, in the Big 10, that is. Shout out to Kevin Warren. Now, I wonder if, Aaron, if you're saying that as in his job and maybe jumping to head up the NCAA, or just if he's going to hold that role to begin with. I wonder what the feel is for him, because remember, he was the one that said no to playing. And, but be honest, it got undermined, if you will, when they kind of walked that back publicly and kind of disregarded having the Big Ten guy out there and play. And, of course, we saw the season. We saw what happened. But it'd be interesting to see. But, yeah, we'll keep an eye out. I agree with you, Orlando. I think that they're going to get external candidate, really come and talk about, taking the money to the next level with some creative ideas, someone who's had a track record of doing it. And I'm also curious to know if the next person that comes in will end up being that person for a significant amount of time, or almost if there's going to be a transition. So we'll keep an eye on that. So with that being said, let's shout out the sponsors of the show. Got to shout out our guy, both yours and mine, Horatio Williams and the Horatio Williams Foundation. As you know, he had the annual Michigan State Coaches Football Clinic, and we'll talk about that a little while in a second when I talk about our trip to Ann Arbor. Also, want to shout out to another great sponsor that's been supporting us is Dick's Sporting Goods. Shout out to Dick's, my favorite place on the planet, next to Staples. I guess I posted about Staples yesterday. There was a grandma in there with some sweet Nikes on. But I love those two places. And finally, Gilead Sciences. They've been really supportive of SPS, the SPS Edge platform, of course, Horatio Williams going forward. The next topic, and you can relate to this, having somewhat of a recent college graduate that was a college student athlete, that is. J.R. Smith made the grade, man. It's been like a great story, man. J.R. Smith said, I was terrified to go back to school. Overcoming these fears of being vulnerable and open about my disability has given me real power. Power no one will ever take from me. I want to say that he may be dyslexic, so he was always having difficulty when it related to his academic studies. But he has gone and received one of the academic awards at his school at North Carolina A&T. He's doing a great thing. And it's really interesting, too, how he's evolved. And I think you may remember about a year ago, late last year, rather, at Western, my alma mater, we were having a forum titled Robbie Greek, and it was a lot to do with his comments he had made when he had became exposed to Greek life. But I'm just really proud of JR, man. You talk about the guy who at one point was going to be known for just having memes of being in the finals, not knowing how much time was left on the clock. And let's just be honest, being looked at as someone who was stupid and dumb and getting high all the time. But now, you hear him on podcasts talking, and he's just really evolving. I think there's a lot to be said about that. And he's gone on and gone back and played golf. got an NIL deal, and he's doing this thing. The last thing I say, the interesting thing he said on Up and Smoke, his second Up and Smoke podcast interview, he was actually the first person to do Up and Smoke. But on the second one, he was talking about his playlist when he's playing golf. You know what kind of music he listens to when he plays golf, Orlando?
No.
Country music. He said he used to play golf, and his playlist used to be rap music. But as you know, was playing too fast. He was too aggressive. He said, man, he played some country music. He sit back, and he just go out there, and he just ease into it. I said, wow. Then he said, and then the guys on the podcast were saying, yeah, man, country music like rap. They be talking a lot of trash in country music. They know how to and the violence go with it. So what's your take, man? And I know you can definitely relate to having an outstanding student athlete in Kyra Jefferson at the University of Florida. And, hearing someone go back and have the load of being a college athlete but still doing well academically. What's your take on JR's accomplishment?
I think it's absolutely incredible. I think it kind of falls into one of the firm beliefs I have that if you stick with an individual, if an individual kind of sticks with that road, the light will come on eventually. That light bulb above your head, it'll come on. Mm-hmm. It just takes some of us a little bit longer to reach to that point where we have to make that conscious change. And what he's done is nothing short of phenomenal. Just wish him the best moving forward. I mean, it's just an incredible story.
Yeah, it is. But you kind of make a point that, we kind of talk about offline, and especially when you're doing all the work with these young athletes going forward, if you stick with something. Right. And in most cases, that's sticking with something, meaning that you have to stay at a particular place for an extended amount of time. But let's be honest, man, so many students, I don't know the statistics, but their college stay is one and done. They're out of school for a year, and for whatever reason, they're gone. And whether they're searching for better opportunity, which I'm sure most of them are, the other part of it is, too, is they're not able to put those roots down. They're not able to overcome the adversity they may have been experiencing. I think I love the fact that you talk about JR sticking with it. And it just seems to be just an old experience now where cats don't just hang around, stay around, stick to it to get something out of it, to build something significant. They just like, hey, I'm here, and unless, I get everything I want right now, I'm gone. And even if I get some of the best things, I'm going to be gone. And I just wonder if people who have success somewhere either don't realize it and they end up going back somewhere else and realize, man, I was better off where I was,
Yeah. I mean, for me, and it's almost yearly, I tell the kids at some point during this season, the light bulb is going to come on and you're going to understand, what I'm trying to relay to you. I mean, it's just phenomenal what can be done when you put the effort in and just the stick-to-itness. It's just, I mean, even for me, and even in my professional life, I was getting frustrated in my career, but I stuck with it. And at that, there was that certain point in my career where the light bulb came on and I knew what to do. I knew how to handle it. I grew up in it. So,
Right. No, I like that. Aaron goes on to say Smith has done a phenomenal job. I totally agree. And you make an excellent point, man, about being able to stick it out, whatever it may be. And I appreciate you saying that, not just from a youthful high school, collegiate age mindset, but someone who's been a professional, who's been in, very, very influential rooms, and to say, hey, man, you got to learn that. But I think that becomes part of your character. That even if you say, man, this is really getting me right. And I know how you get, man. You a labor on something where I'll be like, dude, have you slept? I ain't slept, man. I've been on this. I'm trying to get this thing right. But you're talking about a part of your character that was developed somewhere along the way, Orlando, where you say, I am frustrated, but frustration does not mean I'm at the end of this process. This is just part of the process I have to deal with. And I've watched you, man. I watched you many a times on many of your projects, push. And then to get on the other side of it, and it's almost like, as my great uncle who passed would say, when you're going through the turbulence on an airplane and then you finally get to the top and open up, and you always say, man, now we good. Now we rolling. We got Moni Williams right here, and Moni says, good evening, gentlemen. Where's young fella? He don't ever miss a show. Well, Lindsay, what's up with that grandma you saw at the store with that killer shoe game? I'll be back for the hoop set. Yeah, you're right, man. I'm going to have to give grandma some more props. Indeed, let me see if I can get that visual up for those who didn't see it. Terry has some other obligations. You're right. Young fella doesn't miss a show. Always showing up for work, and he does his thing, and we're so proud to be with him but he's just going to be out today. And actually, he's going to be out for the show week after next too. But we can make it happen. But we appreciate you guys checking in on him, and I'll see about pulling up Gam's dunks that she was rocking at the spot. So with that, we're going to keep it moving. Now let's talk about the trip, I made down to Ann Arbor, which is an annual trip. And I shouldn't say that I will be making to Ann Arbor, but normally it's along the lines of Ann Arbor and, as of course, Michigan State coming to Detroit for the Horatio Williams Foundation annual coaches clinic. But in this particular case, we got to go up there, and I got to hang out with the man, Jim Harbaugh. Met Jim several years ago. He's an enthusiastic guy. He hit me in the kidneys, Orlando. Once we started talking, he remembered what it was. He gave me a kidney shot, like, yeah. just that, like, that's who he is, man. I'm like, okay. So we had a great time, man. We sat right across from each other at dinner. Hey, man, and the food, man, let me say this. And we could talk about, I think it's very easy when you talk about a program like Michigan. It's going to raise the ire in people because you either like feeling Michigan, whatever, or you hate them as much as people love them. And that's
strictly love-hate relationship going on.
There's no in between. It's like, how do you feel? I think that's a good point. There's a very, I guess a good way to say it. How do you feel about this institution? There's a very passionate response to that question. So, but here's the thing though, man. And I say this with nothing but love for Michigan State. And I think people, somebody will come on the show at times, Orlando, and be like, man, I know you all about Michigan State. But that's about proximity. I mean, I was just on campus a little while ago. I'm talking to the VPs on campus, having coffee with a buddy of mine. I'm like, it's right here. You know what I'm saying? But let me tell you about what people miss, man, is that how can I say it? We could talk about tradition. Man, Michigan, man, the big house is the big house. I'm not just talking about the stadium, man. The facility we were in, if you look, and I had to point this out to people, man. If you look, we're on the 50-yard line. We're inside a facility where half of that facility is turf. Other half is the weight room. So Michigan's weight room is the equivalent of 50 yards of a football field. And you see how domed the ceiling is, how high it is. I mean, and this is just a practice facility. When they fed us, man, the strength and conditioning coach, Coach Herm, he said by May 25th, man, they're going to have 121 people on that roster. And when they fed us, man, they fed us like we were at a 5-star meal. And I swear that the line was moving like this. And the food was just, every level of it was the best. And what am I trying to say? That is first class. Michigan, and I'm not taking anything away from my experience at Michigan State. Don't get me wrong. But you see the difference, and you can see that this is what they've been doing for a while. And I was blown away by it. And then even just the sheer size of the players. We're looking at these guys doing warm-ups, and they just in their T-shirt and their Michigan shorts. Their size, Orlando, for every respective position, they are 10 times bigger than a normal guy for their respective positions. But going back to Jim Harbaugh and the interview we had, and anyone who's watching, you can go watch it on YouTube. It's on my Facebook. It was just a great, great conversation, and it ranged from everything from, what his legacy is going to be, Colin Kaepernick, and just talking about this generation of young people. Now, I'll say this, and I'll defer to you right now, Orlando. The one thing I look back on when I look back and I look at the interview, whether I'm critiquing it or just kind of just watching it for my own sake, is that when we started talking about this generation of athletes, that was a space that he wouldn't stop on. He kept going. He kept saying, hey, man, these guys are so impressive. They're smarter than we were. He just has all these things to say. And I just think it's something to be saying, you're in the same position. You're a coach. I mean, you're a guy who represents a different generation, but you're immersed in the current generation. And maybe you can even relate to the insight that you guys get. And even for me, I guess, too, from being around so many athletes, that despite what your generational values may be, when you're around these young people on a regular basis, man, you almost got to be like, hey, this is what's going on with them. But if you had a chance to see the U of M experience, matter of fact, here we are in the weight room right now. You can just see, I mean, it's almost industrial. My mom was like, it looked like that's where they make cars at. You know what I'm saying? She's like, you shouldn't even call it a weight room. But as he said, that's the center of their universe right there. Just your take overall on what Horatio has been doing over the years, always having Michigan and Michigan State support the foundation. In this particular case, doing something that's never been done, hosting us and bringing us up to enjoy what Michigan has to offer.
I think over the years, I think Horatio is doing a wonderful job. I had the opportunity a few years ago. I never had the opportunity to actually make any of the practices, but I did make a dinner one time way back when Carl's Chop House was open. They shut it down, and coaches came down to eat, and it's to expose the high school coaches to that type of environment, to expose them to Coach Harbaugh himself is just incredible. The things that they can learn and take in the way a first-class program is ran is crucial in improving high school athletics here in the state of Michigan and even outside of Michigan. And you hit it on the head with Michigan. Me growing up, Michigan State was always the working class individuals college, and then Michigan was always that elitist sort of school. That's the way I was brought up. And so, me being from a working class family, you always sort of lean towards Michigan State. Well, I'm going to state, I can't go to Michigan. But Coach Harbaugh he is consistently showing that he is reaching out and really trying to bridge a divide in that. I mean, he's here in the community. I'm at the working the city championship, football championship at King. I turn around, here's Coach Harbaugh walking on the field. I mean, he's there. He's front and center. He's communicating in his own way that, with bringing Kaepernick in. And, what you told me, Spike Lee even showed up. I mean, he's kind of trying to bridge that gap and letting those kids know and changing the narrative that, look, Michigan is for everybody.
Yeah. I posed a question to him, and I throw these open-ended questions out, and people like him who are very, loquacious in the sense that he's going to talk about it. I like, if someone this talent alone means someone could play for Michigan. And I was maybe thinking he would say, no, we're looking for others. He said, look, man, if you're talented and motivated, you can play here. He was like, no, if you good, if you want to get down, you can come here. But I think there's something to be said about him too. Something else he got job security. At the end of the day, over the past few seasons, people are like, oh, Harbaugh's going to get fired. He's going to be out. Well, we all know that's not the case. And when he made that trip to, interview with the Minnesota Vikings, I ended up seeing what he said. I didn't talk to him about that in particular, but, his comment, and it just really blew me away. He said, when people were talking about him leaving, is he all in? He said, listen, man, I almost won a Super Bowl. I wanted to go see what was going on with that. And you're like, what can you say to that, man? What can you say that, first of all, can you say, I understand? No, most people can't. And for him to be honest and say, man, look, I just had to kind of see, but now I'm all in now. And I think that's what you see now with him. And having that chance to have that candid discussion with him, man, believe me, the lights and camera was on, but it was just us having a continuation of discussion that we had at the table, in the weight room. And that's what that guy is all about. So if you're somebody who's, like you said, talented and motivated, if you're all about, a certain level, because what they're talking about is competing all the time. Shout out to their strength and conditioning coach, man. He's a beast. Coach Herm, he is talking about sometimes, man, they'll go into the, weight room with the team. He'll say they'll pick two people. They'll pick Orlando and they'll pick Lindsey. And they'll tell the rest of the team to line up behind one or the other. And me and you may go head to head with some type of drill. And whoever wins, that team get hot dogs, the other team get, steak or whatnot. But he said always having this competition. My boy James Lewis, Jay Lee, what's up, man? He said, shout out to Doughboy Horatio Williams for providing an opportunity for local high school coaches. I met that brother at McQuarrie's Barbershop on Mac about 25 years ago. Always a good dude. Go Blue. Shout out to Jay Lee. That's my fan right there, brother. I appreciate you. Yeah, Horatio's a great dude. And it's funny because when he made when I was asking Coach Harbaugh about Horatio, I had some individuals who didn't know about the connection, and they assumed that Harbaugh was just talking fluff when he was saying all these high praise things about Horatio. You're like, man, this dude don't even know who he's talking about. And I was like, nah, man, he talked to him. They talk. They on the phone. They communicating back and forth. He's been down, like you say, for year after year after year. So as it relates to what people say about Horatio, it's true, man. And love the fact that he's giving me an opportunity that along me supporting him, I get this opportunity to get these exclusive, experiences, whatnot. So that's what that was all about. So yeah, man, that was it. It was great sitting with him. Again, I encourage the listeners to check out the line. Just as Moni said, Moni, I got something for you. We'll go back and pull up Graham's shoe game. Yeah, that's right. That was me at the Staples in Grosse Pointe, and I couldn't believe it. I said, check her out. Shoe game proper. She was killing them. And that was pretty cool. And when I went over to her, I said, your shoes are killing them. I love your shoes. She's like, they look like billiards, don't they? They look like billiard balls. I said, oh, wow. She was having a good time with it, man. We got a special guest saying hello. Hey, guys, the weight room looked amazing. Sorry I'm late, mother. You are fine. That is not a problem. But, yeah, my mother, Orlando, was saying that weight room is not an appropriate name for what is going on at the University of Michigan because it was so big, so industrial. And then there's also that one note. The only thing they got up there, the only written words they have is that, what have you done to beat Ohio State today? And I'm like, man, they not playing. They serious about it. So that was that experience up there. So keeping with that, we'll keep talking a little Michigan. I'll stay on. I got a chance to meet someone who's going to be definitely making some noise at the University of Michigan. That is Milan Bolden-Morris, also known as Mimi. You know some cool people named Mimi, don't you, Orlando,
yeah,
right? And she is she's in this role as the new quarterbacks coach as well as the graduate assistant. And she has Coach Harbaugh's ear, very impressive young lady. She was at Georgetown. She originally was at Boston College, went over to Georgetown, was their leading scorer there, and was able to, find some success. And she said I got a chance to talk to her a little while too. She said once she was done, she knew she wanted to stay involved and do some more. So Georgetown is just that. We know Georgetown for basketball. She said that is it. Their football program was close to non-existent. They was all, it was like really, it wasn't a long line to get something popping over there. But when she had begun talks with Coach Harbaugh about coming on board as a graduate assistant, went over to Georgetown football and began volunteering with them and impressed to the point where they were about to hire her as an assistant coach. So, I was telling you earlier, we were talking offline about the impact women are having in sports, particularly the NFL. There's going to be a Mother's Day show that's going to just really highlight women in the NFL from, being coaches, being on the sideline. I mean, for her to be at a position that a Division I major program, that's not, thumb our nose at Georgetown, was ready to hire her. And she had to make a decision between taking a full-time paid position as an assistant coach, which was going to be groundbreaking, and coming to the University of Michigan as a graduate assistant. I think there's a lot to be said. And lastly, I'll say this before I get to you, Orlando, is that Coach Harbaugh's response to her coming on board was that as a point guard, she can kind of see things just like a quarterback would. There's a lot of similarities as it relates to distributing the ball, spatial awareness. And I think that's a lot to be said about Coach Harbaugh, that he's like, look, man, I'm trying to continue to grow and be open and get this youthful perspective of someone who can come in. And she was a very sweet young lady. She was very appreciative, very humble. And I think she even said when she made the decision to look at coming on board, she said, look, I'll just see what happens. And this worked out. And let's put it this way. Her being on the sideline and the kind of response she's going to get, it probably won't be long, man. They're going to snatch her up in the league. I wouldn't be surprised if she just makes a transition because we already know Coach Harbaugh got that pipeline. So what do you think about Mimi Bolden coming on board as a QB GA, QB coach in GA at University of Michigan football?
I think it's a fantastic move. Harbaugh continues to surprise me all the way around. But like the discussion we had earlier, it's about growing the sport. She knows, and if she knows the sport and she's a qualified candidate, she should get hired. It's interesting that you say I've always, as a basketball coach, I always hear that, a quarterback and a point guard are similar, but defensively on the basketball court, a lot of the principles I'm coaching almost from a football point of view when I talk basketball defense. So it's interesting the similarities, but I think it's good for the program. It's good for the sport as a whole. I think we had the discussion that like any other corporate entity, growth is crucial.
I like that.
And in order to grow the sport, we need to expand the audience. And in order to expand that audience, you need to bring new, fresh blood, male, female. The entire spectrum needs to be involved to grow that audience the way you want to. And they want the female viewership. I'm sure they have a good, solid viewership at this point. But now if you start bringing in coaching staff that are female, you'll see those numbers grow as well. And young ladies will get more and more interested and start looking at that career path, which is fantastic.
I mean, shout out to my mom. She said all memes are amazing. She puts Watkins in it. Yeah. That's right. That is true.
Amazing.
Yep.
Coach Mimi. Coach Mimi is at a track meet right now.
Yeah, Coach Mimi is getting at a track meet. We appreciate it. You make an excellent point because I know what I'm going to do is when Madeline is watching TV with me and we catch Michigan, and I can point out to her, I say, yeah, Daddy, yeah, baby, that young lady, she's a coach. She's a coach, Daddy? Like, yeah, girls can coach, football too. Just to open her mind up. And I like what you said about, the corporate aspect of always having growth. And, whether it's the chicken or the egg, whichever comes first, I think there's a synergy there that they can work together and say, look, here's an opportunity to grow the game, like you said, with qualified candidates who can bring something and bring a different perspective, and why not? And you better get out the way if you have this old, caveman mentality that women, can't come into these roles. So I think where we go wrong is you run the risk of being showed up that your intellect may fall short, because just like a minority going into a mainstream situation, there's going to be a level of scrutiny that you're going to have. So you want to make sure you are representing correctly, so that person's going to be on top of their game. So we look forward to keeping an eye on Mimi, all the Mimis in the world, that is, but also Mimi Bolden, Milan, that is, who's representing a really impressive young lady, and I know some great things are going to happen. So staying with Michigan, this is probably why Terry couldn't make it today. That's too much Michigan for him. Too much Michigan. So my question is, how much did the bag influence Hunter Dickinson to return to play? I mentioned him when I was talking to Coach Harbaugh, that picture with Hunter Dickinson standing next to Spike Lee talk. He said, man, I introduced him, but it was just like, extreme to extreme. But he's returning, man, and name, image, and likeness has been stated, has been part of that, and for an institution like the University of Michigan, and shout out to King Football. And the reason I digress, because I was just over there yesterday and I presented about social media etiquette, name, image, and likeness, as well as some media training for post-game interviews. And shout out to Coach Spencer for bringing me in, and shout out to Stefan L. Timmons Enrichment and Awareness Program for sponsoring that. He's going to be doing some other great things going further. But one part of my presentation, Orlando, is that everybody doesn't get the big NIL deal. I think what happens, a lot of these young people make the assumption that, oh, man, I'm going to get a big NIL deal. It may just be for in kind. It may just be you get a free product, whatever, whatnot. But the other part of it is when you have the University of Michigan and Michigan State that have new offices that actually address these issues as relates to NIL, they can put a package together. So I'm sure they were like, look, man, we got Hunter Dickinson here, man. What can we do to secure him for another year so people get to scrambling? They can come up with a deal. I mean, Antoine Davis, the point guard at University of Detroit Mercy, is getting ready to put himself on the market for some other schools, with NIL being the purpose. So I'm not mad, but I just think it's just so interesting that this has become such a significant part of the game already. We got some people making some comments on this right now. Aaron Mays, Brother Mays, says the NIL is a game changer as it relates to the athletes staying in college. Yeah, and I will also add, Aaron, that's for those institutions that can handle that. Because we're talking about potentially $300,000 where somebody can get on the phone and say, hey, man, put that deal together for Hunter. Or have it waiting in the wings. That's a big, big thing. Shout out to Hype Baller Hoops. He says, Hunter Dickinson, I don't see he's an NBA player, more of a G League player, so why not stay, try to win a national title? I agree with me. Everything is working in favor. The one advantage I think he has, hype Baller Hoops, is his coach got the plug. His coach got the plug not only to the NBA, but to the big man route in the NBA. So if Hunter Dickinson is saying, yeah, I'm going to stick around, that's Juwan Howard saying, look, cuz, I want the best for you. And I wouldn't have no problem bringing another big in, but this is not really the time. Why don't you make the most of it? And here you have it. And I see someone like Hunter Dickinson not being an immediate impact player in the NBA, getting on the roster, developing more because of his, coach, Juwan Howard. He's going to be looked upon fairly like, look, you got coached by Juwan. You good out here. Hell, who knows? Juwan might end up coaching Hunter in the NBA somewhere. If something open up in the next couple of years, and Juwan is gone, and Hunter is gone. But I'm just curious. I just think the caveat you have to have with NIL is that NIL, not all NIL is equal. Not all NIL is equal. Do not get it twisted. Do not, if you're not getting, certain kind of ratings, or let's just be honest, man, that blue check certified where you got enough traction going, where you're going to be able to pull in a certain amount of attention, everybody's not going to get that. But with that being said, what do you think, Orlando, about the bag impacting Hunter Dickinson and other players staying in college?
I mean, for Hunter specifically, I think it was sort of a 50-50 sort of proposition. I'm leaning towards with height and Baller Hoops. He wasn't ready. I mean, it's very clear it wasn't ready, and it's nice to be able to have those people in your ear, like with Juwan, and the ability to look here. We understand you chasing that money. Let's put a package together, and you go ahead and stay that extra year and get that work that you need. So yeah, it was 50-50 with him, but overall, that NIL it's going to keep a lot of kids in school longer term. There's no need to make that jump chasing that money anymore.
Yeah.
It's unnecessary.
And there's something to be said. I got a chance to talk to Mel just recently when he was at the event for Mel Tucker. That is, when he was at the event for Horatio Williams, and man, him being a $90 million man, $100 million man is different. And the amount of time and attention that has to go to the donors. See, what we got to realize too is that these NIL deals aren't just coming. There's somebody with some connection, affiliation with the university, and they need their time. Yeah, we're gonna do this deal for you, but not only am I getting these tickets, but he's coming to little Johnny's bar mitzvah, or I got this event over here, or it is a full-time job, because a lot of these aren't just checks being stroked. These are commitments. These are like pledges. These are like structured deals that this is what we want to do over time. In order to do that, you got to keep it going. You got to keep putting yourself out there. So I say that to say, like, in politics, as you know, Orlando, the lobbyists have so much influence over the process because they have the money. And in this particular case, man, I think what we're going to start seeing and hearing more about is the influence the donors are starting to have. Because now it's becoming about the money. It's always been, but, we're talking about...
But let's be truthful. The donors have always had that influence.
Okay.
Now they can just be out in the open with it.
They can be out. They don't got to do the small handshake with all that. They can say, "Come pick up the truck."
Yeah, no brown paper bags being dropped anywhere. Now they can just, they can televise.
So I wonder now if since it's not the shadow work anymore, since it's not done in the shadows, does that mean there's going to be potentially more scrutiny? Because these deals are going to be so out in the open. I mean, you talk about a lot of these Oklahoma, Alabama, these quarterbacks landing $1 million deals before they set foot on campus. Is that going to lead to more scrutiny?
This is my worry. If you've got a machine behind you like your Michigan that has a staff that's working NIL, period, you're going to have a lot of kids out here. I mean, let's be serious. You got a lot of freshmen, sophomores. You dropping a ton of money. They don't know. Some of them do, some of them don't. I don't want to, broad paint a stroke across all of them. Now you're talking about taxes. What am I? Because that money ain't coming tax free.
That's not tax free. You are not a nonprofit as a player. You're a business.
How am I going to manage that money? Because you're still, the NBA is sitting down with their recruits, the rookies, and letting them know, hey, this is the way you should be managing your money. Unless you got that, at the college level that you dropping a kid $100,000, he may damn near kill himself. I got $100,000. Let's hit the bar, whatever. You you have to really kind of reach to these kids and grab them and pull them in and say, the NIL is great, but let me help you manage it.
But too, that 100,000 is really 65, 70,000.
That's true.
Because now luxury tax hit, and you give them $100, tell that person, here go 100 racks, but I need you to put 30 or 40 up just to be safe. Like what? Close to half?
It's not happening. It is not happening. I'm thinking back to when I was 21. Hey, oh no, this is my money.
Put this money up, or you have this kick it down the road mentality. Okay, I'll get it later. I'll get it on the back end, and all these type of things. We'll see. Well, we're having a good discussion. There are a lot of NBA comments ready to go. We're going to get to all of them. I appreciate you guys staying with us. So let me get over here, and one again, I want to thank our sponsors. This has been a perfect example of how influential our sponsor is with the program and show. That is Horatio Williams and the Horatio Williams Foundation. Shout out to our guy H. Both Orlando and I got nothing but love for H. Gilead Sciences and all their support, and Dick's Sporting Goods. But let's get to these comments. I want to try to keep things in order as it relates to our next topic. Shout out to Latasha Prince out of Columbus. That's our family. That's Terry's aunt. She wanted to see Celtics with the sweep. So let's put that out there to get this thing going, man. I mean, we did see a sweep. The Celtics swept Knicks. Somebody made a comment, man, that trade between Harden and Ben Simmons was the most no win that we've ever seen. We've seen a sweep, early in this playoff, whatnot. But let me get to the comments, because there were some comments that were based on that particular thing. So give me a second, folks, as I make sure I go back and get our folks together.
There's the comment too I wanted to get to before we got out.
Well, go ahead. You do that while I look this up. What you got? You got one for us?
If you could pull up Pooh's comment.
Pooh's comment. All right. 1 second. We're gonna pull up Pooh's comment. 1 second. I know I just saw it a second ago. There we go. Pooh said, do y'all see Detroit's own former NBA player Carlos Rogers live on AAU basketball and parents? It was a real raw no cut. Thank you for bringing that up. Talk about that, Orlando.
Yeah, I did catch the tail end of it, the half of it. And for those of you that don't know Carlos Rogers, his passion for the game of basketball is unmatched. And it was really raw. It was from the heart. And whenever Carlos does come on live, and he does frequently with those discussions, it's really true and to the heart. And he just kind of really broke it down. And I'm trying to really say it the best I can. He went to school. He expressed he went to school to make it to the NBA. It wasn't about no education. He knew that he had to get those grades to continue to play basketball, but that was secondary. He went to go make it to the NBA. He went to go play. And, the passion and the way he talks about AAU and the parents and just the travesty that it's become. Now, Carlos played AAU for Team Michigan. He played for my father.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I had the opportunity to coach for a little while with Carlos at Northwestern here in the city. He was with the boys program. And so it was, when she said at the end, it was raw and uncut. That is Carlos Rogers, raw and uncut. So if you ever get a chance to see one of his lives or anything like that, when he decides he wants to come on and speak to something that's close to his heart, check it out, because he's real and really passionate about the game. He's a good guy.
Well, that's good. Shout out to Team Michigan, all the great work your dad has done, Rocky, and having it. Okay, I have to be on the lookout for that. Let's go. Letitia keeps us with the shit. Kevin Durant viewed by most as the best player in the world, along with Giannis. Outside the last game, I've seen Durant look so bad, turnover-wise, and struggling to figure out Boston defense. Letitia, first of all, I don't know if you noticed, and you need to make a comment. I relieved myself a second ago, and I went off camera. So, you see, I learned That'll come back on me. That's between me and you and Orlando and everybody. But, somebody made a good comment, man. We're talking about Kevin Durant, and he's going to have to get his. I know someone else made a comment asking about Charles Barkley with that. What's up? Your thoughts on Kevin? Shout out to Baller's page. What's your thoughts on Kevin Durant and Charles Barkley exchanging jabs on social media? Why does KD always does that? Does that mean he's still a big kid? Yeah, I mean, we could talk about that too. But here's the thing, man. What I wanted to say was, let's talk about this Achilles injury that he recovered from. And we get this mindset that because these guys have the best medical attention known to man, et cetera, that they're going to read back. He's not the same player he was. And also, we look at that Golden State team he had, talking about being able to spread it around. This has been more of a concise thing. Whether you can argue Steve Kerr and Steve Nash are two Steves in the same, it's been night and day. Steve Kerr was able to go into the locker room and draw plays and evoke the stories of Michael Jordan and all these things. For whatever reason, it worked. It is not the case with this team. And let's talk about how the air got sucked out the room when Kyrie was going through everything he was going through. So that being said, I think it's hard to make the assumption that Kevin Durant is going to continue to be such a dominant player going forward with all these type of things. So,
Lindsay, let's not take away from Boston's defense. It was stifling.
Okay, they talk about Boston's defense how to get. So don't make it about Kevin that he was going to do this for anybody.
That's what I keep hearing. I keep hearing, KD. Can we hear a little bit more about Boston's defense? Boston's defense.
Yeah. Dion Hoospay, I want to go back to. He's going back to your comments about Carlos. Said, Lindsay, go to his page and watch that live. I was impressed. The young cat that coaches in Detroit. Denaro Rice came on too and spit game. Oh, D Rice, that's my guy right there. I definitely got to go back and check that out. So thank you, Dion Hoospay. And D Rice is a solid dude, great trainer, great coach, very underrated. But he will get his just due in time. Shout out to my guy D Rice and D Rice Elite. I covered some of his freshmen when they went down to Indianapolis and played a few weeks ago. A lot of great guys he has on that team. I'm just trying to go back and make sure we got another comment from Dion Who's page earlier about Ben Simmons. Yeah, thoughts on Ben Simmons is supposed to be playing game 4, but the day before he says he woke up with a bad back. Was he scared to play? Reggie Miller, Shaq, they killed him saying he has no competitive spirit about him. And it's funny, game 4 was the only game he didn't sit on the bench with them. Man, somebody posted something, man, and it said, yeah, man, they said, yeah, Ben Simmons supposed to play game 5. And I thought that was funny. Like, it was a sweep, it didn't matter. So here he is right here, man. And, man, I got to put my sports psychology hat on, man. And I'm kind of like that guy who stands in front of the guy that everybody's trying to beat up right now, and don't get me wrong. The Nets demand an explanation, rightfully so. The reality is that the decision they made, and you got to, give credit to Clutch Sports and, his representation and how they finesse is that they didn't address the issue when they brought him over, or they didn't address it in depth enough to get what they wanted, because why would they be in this situation? And had they known that he wasn't going to play in that series, they wouldn't have made the trade. So it's almost like I remember one time I was trying to explain to somebody that if you have a sports psychology consultant, you got to realize who their client is. You either work for the team and you're looking at what's in the best interest of the team, or you work for the player and you can advocate for the player. So I think in this particular case, man, I'm not saying Ben's ability to play is not salvageable, but who is he working with? Is he working with somebody trying to help him? Is there somebody there? And I use myself as an example, strictly to talk about what is it going to take to get you back on the court to play. And this is somebody making a decision that is not part of the team brass, who he's not going to open up to. And that's why I say, and I'm preaching to the choir as someone who's hired a sports psychology consultant for your daughter, that being me, right, but who gets it, you got to have somebody there working for you for your purpose to help you get back. You're not going to trust the team side because you're not going to want to open up. You're not going to want to share. So I say all that to say, Orlando, I want to get your opinion. They didn't do their due diligence. They didn't do their due diligence. There was nothing there saying, maybe there was not even any contractual language to say, you got to play so many games, whatever, whatnot. So that was the deal. But what do you think about this whole Ben Simmons speech?
It's quite obvious that nothing was discussed, and it's almost as nothing was going on. Well, the Teeny Boo, do y'all think it was bad, or was it mental for him to miss Game 4? I think it's just bad. I'm about as blue collar as you get. Lindsay knows I was 28 years on the fire department. After 5 years on the fire department, I had 2 bad discs in my back. I ain't miss a day of work. You know what I'm saying? You go to work in pain if you want to get paid at the end of the day. You got to be compassionate enough about the game that everybody out on that court in that NBA at some point and given time, my back hurt a little bit, but I'm gonna go out there and play. Mm-hmm. That there does not seem to be a connection with him mentally, with the team, or anything. It's just he's on an island by himself. And unless they can, somehow remedy that in the off season, I don't know what they're gonna do. But they don't have anything else to do but release him.
Yeah. To that same point, Mike Supe, he said, "Let's talk Nets Celtics." Here we go. How were they able to sweep the Nets? It's crazy. I'm shocked still. The Nets are in disarray, man. They're in disarray. I mean, think about they've had all these mini soap operas throughout the season. Kyrie's situation, KD just getting roasted about his hygiene and not really having it all together. What's going on in the city of New York when they deal with the COVID and all these type of things. The trade that went down. And let's say Steve Nash is just really, a clipboard holder. You know what I'm saying? He's not really having no influence this way. So we were just really going off the success they've had in the past. So, and again, to my co-host point, Coach Orlando Walker said, let's talk about the defense that the Nets put out there, and the defense that the Celtics put out there going forward. I want to make sure I'm getting everybody before we go to the other discussion that's happening as it relates to hoops. And question, Hoops Hype made a point. Did anyone hear Jay Wright says he's open to NBA coach gig? I thought he was going to go and get that NBA gig with the Lakers, but they're saying Mark Jackson is one. But guess what I remember too, though, Orlando? Every time they tell you somebody's a favorite, they like setting you up for somebody to come that you weren't even thinking about to get the job. It's like, look at the left hand while the right hand do his work.
While the right hand. And I tell you what, if a job does open up, I think Jay Wright would be absolutely perfect.
The best pedigree for these guys after winning national championships is that USA basketball plug, that USA basketball experience. Steve Kerr, Coach K, Popovich. By having that, I think that allows these guys to really have an impact and influence on these NBA players, because so many of them were one and done and didn't play in college. So they can respect the fact that, you won a championship, 2 championships in this particular case. But I think Jay is going to be great for the professional game. Hoops Baller Scoop says, you think Juwan Howard will leave Michigan this fast for NBA job? Think Howard stays 10 years in Michigan? Hey, man, let me tell you something. They put that bag on the table and say, here you go. And let's think about it. He got this job while searching for an NBA job. I wouldn't be surprised, and then that whole that thing about, Juwan potentially coaching LeBron. He had coached LeBron at Miami. He has that relationship.
But you know what? For me, Lindsay, when you say you put that bag, there is a very clear difference between a very good salary and generational wealth, and that's what you're talking about.
That's what we talk about, the generation that comes with that. Yeah, she said, my bad, fella. I meant, was it his back? No, you fired Tina Boo. Tina Boo also says Jason Tatum's move up to NBA in the top 10 NBA player. He's done that every postseason. His first postseason in the NBA. Patricia England, I know that lady, she said, it's been salvageable. Basketball may be gone from his spirit. Yeah, to turn around and expect him to have a high output, it's going to be really tough. But
I think he's going to be at a farmer's market next season baking bread.
He could be breaking bread. So I got that bread for you. It's going to be tough, man. He's going to get his bag and go. I just wish him the best as it goes. Hype Baller Hoop had a comment before we get to some John Morant talk. The Warriors been looking good, and Steph Curry doing Steph things. But Draymond Green, man, his impact in the games are amazing. His pass and his defense is great to watch. Hype Baller Hoops, I must have saw the same pocket pass he gave the other night. I just turned the game on and just saw him. It's like, if you can get a rating for passing, I mean, those things are huge in what they can do and what you do for the flow of the game. But at this
Draymond has been fantastic.
He has been. He has been. At this point, I think that we can move on to the next discussion as it relates to basketball, and that's that Ja Morant and Hoop Baller Scoop put it out there. Was Ja Morant dunk of the year? What is the rank in NBA playoff history? No, it was not the dunk of the year. I want to talk dunk of the decade. I want to talk. Let's just go back. What dunk comes to mind? And I don't have the ability right now to bring up just footage after footage, but I can show this visual. If you can lock in on a little bit. What dunk comes to mind over the past few years that was more impactful to this? It was almost going to be Anthony Edwards, late last season, but they called it off. So you can argue whether we're going to call that. They called it a charge. But come on, man. What dunk do we know that is just so household that comes to mind where this guy takes off like this? I mean, he's cupping it outside of the – I mean, look at this, man. And he finished with – so it wasn't – like, remember when Blake Griffin was getting those dunks and we were going crazy, but low-key Blake was catching fingertips? And technically people argue, is it a dunk? Well, technically it is a dunk.
Well, Lindsay, I'm the only time I'm thinking back, Jordan from the free throw line is when I'm thinking back. But
that's not even in game though.
Right.
So compared to that, I mean, he's coming in, with a playoff game that was highly contested that they end up getting a win for. So for me, man, I think there's no question about dunk of the year. I mean, there's no question unless something else amazing happens, he does something. But I think it really comes down to where does this rank in NBA history? Because, and I don't think I'm just talking just because, we just saw it recently, man, but I have not seen anything like that. But guess what? We all knew it was coming. We've been seeing how this guy's been getting out. We all have known it's been coming. Hoops Hype says Timberwolves Grizz series been exciting. I feel many blew 2 games. I think they have a low IQ as a team blowing big leads. I agree with that. And everybody getting mad at Cat for not hitting the block, dog. You got to get down there, baby. Get with it. Hoop Baller Scoop also said, playoff-wise, the Jordan baseline dunk on Pat Ewing starts left-hand dunk on Grant and the Bulls. Okay, I remember that. But if you say decade, it's up there. We probably missed it. I agree, but look what you had to do, Hoop Baller Scoop. You had to go back to Jordan.
Right.
The Bulls versus the Knicks with the turnaround to get Pat Ewing. I mean, if that's what we're talking about, I think it's fair to say that, man. Hey, this I'm going to challenge our listeners to do. Between now and next week, let's go back and find some other dunks. And you can just describe them because we at a point now, you don't even got to put the jewel up, but you just describe the dunk. Let's see if there's anything compared to this. Because here's the thing. The only reason I feel confident saying that this is the dunk of the decade, because if there was a dunk that was clearly that much greater, it would be just like Hoop Baller Scoop said, oh, yeah, the Jordan dunk baseline. If you can't just describe something like that, you ain't going to just be like, oh, yeah, that time the guy jumped from half court. No, we haven't seen anything like this, man. And that is it. We still talking playoff stuff. We got a few more things, man, as we get ready to wrap up. I want to make sure I got all the great comments, man. I want to thank everybody for chiming in. Yeah, the young fella was out today. Young Jedi doing Young Jedi thing. Oh, couldn't help. I got one more thing I want to add. Going back to the sweep. This is how Jason Tatum got him, baby.
That's it.
hey, he got KD wearing that long collar, man. And as a matter of fact, I think that's a dress Kyrie got on. That ain't right. They doing like that. But no, man. But you know what? It's playoff basketball, and it's more. Come on, man. Look at this dude. Look at where he's at, man. Look at where he jumped from. You look at his teammate. I think that's Bane, number 5. He looked like, oh my God. And it's just like. It's just another day at the office, man. What we got right here? I got another comment. Tina Boo say, what's y'all thoughts on John Moran's dad? Oh, yeah, he's a show himself, and he fine, LOL, and he look like he's 30 years old. Now, Tina Boo, you can't come on no show with a bunch of men talking about he fine. Like, we gonna be like, yeah, girl. Like, okay. I never looked at him like that. I just thought that was John Moran. I thought he was cool. What you say, Orlando?
I didn't look at him that way, but it does look like he's enjoying himself, and as he should.
I'm glad she brought that up. That meant me go back and find Hoop Baller Scoop. He said, man, John Morant's having the time of his life. He has become a star in his own right. His interaction with Karl Towns' father is so funny. He had Usher sitting next to him last game because Social said they look like twins. LOL. He could look like he'd be Ja's older brother. No, man. What I like about this brother, man, is that Hoop Ball, go comment on my TV. I got you, Hoop Ball and Scoop. Thank you. I remember I saw it earlier. That's why I'm glad you brought it up. You're absolutely right, man. What I love about him, his dad, that is that man, he had his son playing in the backyard on dirt, man, damn near. And he used to tell the older guys, man, be physical with him, just don't hurt him. He's enjoying the fruits of his labor. And I think it's a great storyline because, and I think what you got to do a little bit, low key, you got to credit LeVar Ball for kind of opening that door a little bit as far as the black father being there and getting held in high regard. They embrace him. They love him. You don't hear no rack stuff going on about it, and he able to enjoy that. Dr. J. over Cooper. Okay. Appreciate that. But look what we had to do. Look what we had to do.
Which was actually misrepresented.
Sure was.
And the last episode of Showtime.
It was
They had Dr. J over Magic, but it was Cooper.
All of Hooper. That's them saying, no, it's going to be good. They could have just let it be Cooper. It would have been okay. They didn't have to mess it up like that, which makes me question if Jerry West is right when he's saying, y'all out here misrepresenting me real bad. Real bad. No, Dr. J over Cooper, I totally agree, but that will definitely put it up there. But no, Who's Ball and Scoop, I appreciate your comment on T. Morant, but that's a brother who has he got his son to the league, man. He enjoying every minute of it, and I love it. And it's a great thing. So with that being said, man, we're at the 1 hour mark. We did it, man. We didn't have a young Jedi with us, but he was probably sending us some good energy. We got through the show, Orlando. I appreciate you being ready to rock and hold it down, but not that I was surprised at all. I knew we could do it. But with that being said, we're going to be back next week. And in the coming weeks, we got some other announcements going to be made. We're going to have some unique changes to the show based on some location possibility. We'll talk more about that. Last comment I see Hoop Ball and Scoop. Before y'all leave, y'all seeing the Magic? That's what we were talking about. Absolutely. Yeah, maybe we'll talk about that. I'll put that up for next week, Hoop Ball and Scoop, to talk more about the controversy about whether it's true. And I got to do my due diligence and watch Magic's new show as well, because Magic put out one to say, hey, this ain't it. So we'll talk more about that.
I've watched it, Lindsay. Go ahead and make the time. That's good.
Make the time. Okay. You got anything for us before we get out of here, Orlando?
No, you said we're announcing some stuff. I got some stuff to announce in the upcoming week, so it's great.
Okay, well, we'll be putting it out there. So with that being said, this is Lindsey Huddleston with Orlando Watkins, and also for our good friend Terry McCord Jr., who's not available today because it was too much Michigan, too many Michigan topics. We'll be back for you guys next week. Appreciate it. Peace out. Good.